Everybody, and welcome to the Stock Pick Profits Market Update. There's a lot to talk about today, so we're gonna get right into it, and then we'll take your questions and comments. So go ahead and post them while we're doing the update, and we'll get right to them. First thing, welcome to the update. Exciting Wednesday, right? You know, yesterday we had mentioned Thursday. That was actually today with the Fed rate hike. So let's get right into that. Don't forget that this is sponsored by Investing Lovers on Facebook. Go ahead and go like that page, facebook.com/investing lovers. And guess what? When these live shows start, you'll get an alert and you can never miss them. A lot of good information on that website. A lot of good people on that website sharing information. So definitely go check it out. And then if you like what we're talking about and you want to get involved, we'll constantly have this little scrolling link on here. You can go ahead and click that and get more information. So the big news today, Federal Reserve announcement. So we raised another quarter point today, and we actually added one more target on the board for the year. So we were going in today looking at three. Odds of a fourth one really went up. The banks and everything kind of jumped right at the announcement. Bank of America pushed to new highs. A lot of banks pushing to new highs. The regionals were really starting to catch fire. And then as we went into the close, it kind of tapered back off. Most of your big banks ended up even on the day, maybe down a little bit on the day. So it was kind of an interesting trade. Probably the day traders making money, huh? Some of the interesting news cycle. Norway nominated Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize today for his efforts in North Korea. That's kind of interesting news. So, let's real quick talk about the market outlook. We're still bullish on the market, and with these rate hikes, things there's a lot of promise in the economy. The growth is good. Generally, you get these rate hikes based on inflation. Inflation usually indicates growth. It looks like we're getting we're getting the inflation that we're expecting. It's kind of stagnant right now, but it showed a little life the last report. And going forward, it looks like Powell and the Fed's looking for some serious inflation. So we're still bullish on it. We're still bullish on banks. We're still bullish on a lot of things. More specifics you can get if you actually are in the service. But, let's talk about some of the stocks we've talked about going into today. Yesterday, we mentioned some stocks. The regional banks, right? The regional banks, we mentioned that a lot of traders coming into today's rate announcement, they were talking that the big banks kind of are overdone and stuff, and there's just not as much growth potential as there are in the regional banks. One of the banks we like best, we mentioned it yesterday, Huntington Bank shares. It had a good day today too. When we first started getting into Huntington Bank, it was about $12, and that was in the winter of December 16. It's pushing $16 right now. So it's a it's a nice little bank. You guys go check it out if you're looking for a regional bank. Of course, our big bank favorite, Bank of America. Man, it was under $30 all morning, right? Came into that rate announcement, went right up to that 30-20, 30-30, pushing day highs. And then the wind came out of the sails, and I think it finished down about 14 cents. Nothing to be concerned about, though, on that. That's long-term growth. Things are lining up really strong for the banks, especially with the when these Fed meetings come around. People start forgetting about the lightening of the regulations and stuff like the Dodd-Frank and stuff, and that'll really help banks. So, if you've got a little bit more of a midterm, long-term perspective, man, you definitely want to own something in the big banks, and we like Bank of America. We also talked yesterday that we went short the dollar. Now, it looked like that trade was going to go upside down when the announcement happened, right? Because we promised you, we'd tell you how we went short, and all we did was short the UUP is the symbol, and it's just the PowerShares dollar bullish index. So when you buy that, you're expecting the dollar to get stronger. So we shorted it, right? It's one of our favorite ways to short the dollar, go long on the dollar, UUP. It doesn't move as quickly as like a normal stock. It takes a little bit more to move UUP, so you don't get caught in those spur of the moment trades and stuff. So we're short right now the dollar, and once the afternoon kind of started to play out, we looked a little smarter. I think it finished down about 4 cents. And so it was an exciting day all around. The morning was just really boring, and then going into the afternoon, things started to pick up as we got into that rate hike announcement and the note from the Fed. Now, you guys can always go on CNBC and stuff, and you can actually read the verbiage released by the Federal Reserve. And the fun thing that they do over at CNN, and we'll post a link on the I Love Investing, is the first thing, Samuel, slow down. The first thing you can do, the fun thing you can do with this Federal Reserve announcement is you can go on CNBC and they actually have last note and they have a copy right on top of it, like they used to do old in school. You older people remember where they put the transparency on top of the other one, and then you can see the difference in the language. It's actually just a few words here and there. So that's kind of a fun thing to do if you're real interested in it. Now, basically just the Fed is saying that the economy is growing. The economy is fairly strong, and they're expecting some inflation to show up. So growth is all on track. Everything's on track. And so they've added the potential of another fourth rate hike. Right now rates are still low. And remember, we're talking about the overnight lending rate. This is not your long-term interest rate. So your mortgage rates and things like that, they tend to catch later on. It takes a while for these things to cycle through and to actually affect them. So Samuel's asking, where's everyone from today? So if you guys want to go ahead and tell where you're from, looks like we've got about 5 people on right now. Go ahead and post where you're from. If you're watching this later on, go ahead and post too. The comments are always running and we're always monitoring them. So we always will be able to respond properly. So, hey, Money, welcome. One of the newest members to our service. Money got involved yesterday. So having a lot of fun already. Already we're getting into some good trades and some good information and stuff and participating together. And there we go from Stockholm, Sweden. Welcome, Sana. Moni, of course, is from Denver. Moni's from Denver. Bear's in Oakland. He's in Oaktown, home of the Golden State Warriors. Congratulations. Marco's here. Hey, Marco. Marco, another new member. Welcome, Marco. Hope you're having a good time already. I know it's just your first day, but I hope you got something from all the information that the team's been posting in the private board and stuff during the day. We should have you in some trades already and stuff too. So let's see how it goes from there. Of course, our friend Roland. All right, Roland from Hawaii. Welcome, Roland. Roland's from the North Shore. Usually Tala's here, and I don't think she was able to make it today. Tala's here, but they're from the beautiful North Shore, Hawaii, man. Having fun as always. Marco, glad to see the thumbs up, Marco. Now, remember, Marco, you're part of a family now. Any questions, anything you need, you post them in that private message board, man. And you guys, don't be afraid to share on here the experience you have with SPP. Whether you like the service. Oh, Marco's in Los Angeles, man. So we've got Oakland, Northern California in the house. We've got Los Angeles, Southern California in the house. We've got Samo, who's all the way from Las Vegas. We have Roland, who's in the North Shore. We've got us who are televising from Kalihi, Hawaii, which is on the South Shore of Oahu. Complete opposite of where Roland and Tala and them are. And we've got Sweden in the house. So we've got everything covered. Welcome, everyone. Let's have some fun. We didn't expect much on a Wednesday show anyways. It's been a long week, and that was a lot of work today in the with the announcement and stuff. It was almost like the whole 8-9 hour trading day was packed into about an hour and a half, right? We all just kind of spent the morning sharing information and talking stocks, waiting for the announcement. Then the announcement came out, and like we talked about, it was pretty much the standard lately for a Fed announcement, right? Got a little pop one way, then we recycled, and then you just kind of trickled down as volume trickled off. So it was an interesting day, you know, and tomorrow is going to be a big day because we want to see how this digests through the market. A lot of this news, you know, it's easy to get caught up on it in the short term because we're traders. You know, if you're watching this, you're a trader. You're probably not managing a giant fund or a pension plan or something like that. Now, these guys that manage these big funds, you know, 70 million, 100 million pension funds, which can get into the billions of dollars managing, they need to take time to read, check things out, match things up, and then they start making their plays. So you'll start to see things take shape over the next day or two. We also have a couple more economic reports coming out over the week, Thursday and Friday. I think there's a durable goods coming through. We'll check that out. But, you know, we're also focused on this Fed Reserve announcement that we had to really focus on that, and now we can get back to the rounded trading. You know, we're into some stocks and things like that. We'll talk about those going forward. But right now, there's still buys for our members. So just like the UUP, we will not specifically talk about a stock that we recommend until our members are in it. And that's only fair to them. They're paying for the information. You know, we thought the big news was Norway nominating Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, what's happening here in North Korea is huge and it's big. And we mentioned it on the show yesterday, you know, Roland, Tala, Samuel lives in Hawaii. The trading team, of course, is in Hawaii. This is a really big thing to us because you guys probably read in the national news, we had a false missile alert, which just freaked us all out. I mean, basically, we got one of those flash flood warnings, but it said a missile attack is imminent. Take cover. And that was all we heard for about 10, 15 minutes. According to statistics, it only takes a missile 17 minutes to hit Hawaii from North Korea. So basically, we're sitting there counting our blessings and hoping we're going to see this afternoon. You guys can't imagine the feeling, and just to know that that's not going to happen. You know, there's some negotiating to work out. You know, with the ending of the war games and stuff like that around there. Trump's made it clear today that we're not going to pull the military out of there, and that makes sense. But there's a lot of good things happening there. Now, it's easy to nitpick and it's easy to tear apart what's happened so far. But we've got them at the table. We've got them where they want to negotiate. Yes, in the past, they have been deceptive. They have been full of it. But, hey, Chad, that's the first time we've seen you, Chad. Chad Ford from Alabama. Welcome, Chad. Great icon. Wow. I like that. I'm going to show the trade team this. You guys look at this icon, man. This is cool. Alabama's here and Trump's doing great. You know, we agree. We agree. Trump, you know, there's some social issues and some environmental things that need to be worked out. But I think as a leader, as a world leader, he is really setting the tone, and he is really, really setting the board up for some good things for our country, you know. And you're a combat vet. God bless you, Chad. Thank you for blessing us with a combat vet, especially on a day like today, right? Big market day, a lot of fun. Trump getting nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You know, it's just a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff, man. Alabama in the house, combat vet. God bless you and thank you for your service, man. Chad, did you have any questions or anything? We'll be glad to answer any of your questions. We really, really like that. You know, let's see what else here. See if we missed any comments here. All right. Looks like we got them all. Anyways, yeah. Oh, no, Chad. Thank you. Thank you. From everybody over at Financial Reboot, Stock Pick Profits, anything over here, we all thank you. We all thank you, man. That is great stuff. And Samuel wants to say it. Thank you for your service, Chad. God bless you, man. None of us would be making a dime if it wasn't for people like you, you know? And we always have to remember that. Now I'm happy that I wore my nice red shirt. The Canadian pot market, Chad. So, you know, Chad, it's funny. We just released our second marijuana play within the service. And it's because we're starting to see things, you know, it's been a long build, right? Up to this point with the marijuana market. And Canada is kind of leading the way. They've legalized it and stuff. And that's kind of catching. It's kind of trickling over to the U.S. politicians, right? We actually had Elizabeth Warren, who's very anti anything on the right side. And you know, it's interesting. Anything on the right side, she usually fights hand and tooth. But she got on board with one of the Republican senators, and they're passing legislation. They're pushing it hard. And one thing about Elizabeth Warren is, you know, people can say anything you want, but she does get things done when she wants to. And she's really good at pushing bills through. And she's got this bill, man, that should just get us in line with the federal government. That's all it is these states, the autonomy of the state works in a certain advantage in that they can legalize it. But the federal government, it's still an illegal drug. And so the banks have to follow federal laws. They can't get away with like the states. Oh, I'm a California business, so I can sell pot because it's legal. But the Bank of America can't do that, right? Wells Fargo can't do that. Chase can't do that. So are you? Oh, good. Good stuff, Chad. You know, we like to see everybody do well in the stock market. You know, of course, we have the service we offer, but we hope everybody does well. And Kronos, yeah. Local banks. You know, it's funny, Marco, you asked about local banks. In Hawaii, actually, one of our favorite small banks is First Hawaiian Bank. It's FHB, the symbol. That thing IPO'd about a year ago. So that thing IPO'd about a year ago. And it's just been a really strong bank. First Hawaiian Bank, if you're familiar with the Hawaii region, really we've got two big banks. We've got Bank of Hawaii and we've got First Hawaiian. Then there's a couple others, American Savings, Central Pacific. Those are kind of smaller banks that aren't really effective. But Bank of Hawaii and First Hawaiian Bank are actually pretty widely held stocks. And we like First Hawaiian Bank. So if you're wondering what we like locally, yeah, we like First Hawaiian Bank, man. Let's see, Samuel's got a good question. Yeah, Marco. So First Hawaiian Bank, if you're looking for something regional. If you're looking for something a little more wide regional, we like the Huntington Bank, the HBAN. Even at this $15 level, we like it. We think it's a $25, $30 stock. Somewhere down the line. You know, it's funny too, when we first did our live shows, one of our first calls was to buy the First Hawaiian Bank IPO. And it was just a winner. Let's look at Samuel's question. Can you explain how during Democratic presidencies, the stock market always flourishes, but Trump is crushing it? Can you explain how during Democratic? Well, generally, you know, the best way I can explain this, Samuel, is generally the markets don't care what party's in charge. It's more about their policies and stuff. It's are they pro-growth? And as well as the stock market did during the Obama years, it probably could have done better or maybe not. You know, I mean, that's speculation. I don't want to say one way or the other. But definitely Trump is crushing it, but you look at Trump's policies. Don't look at him as a R or a D. Look at him as just a name. And what it is I knew that was coming from someone from Alabama. I'll get right on that, Chad, because we're huge football people in the trading room. But look, Trump is crushing it because of his policies. That's all it is. Trump is crushing it because of his actions. This pushing trade equality, this getting these things done with the world stage, right? These things have heavy repercussions on the market. You might think nuclear capability on the peninsula, Korean peninsula, doesn't affect your stock market, but you can bet it does. It also affects growth on those peninsulas, right? It also affects economic stability on the on the stock market. But the biggest thing to remember with presidencies is the market doesn't care if they're R or D. What the market cares is their policies. And Trump is, in a long time, maybe 20, 25, 30 years, we haven't had someone as pro-growth as Trump. And I mean, every policy he has is about growth, right? It's about jobs. It's about getting unemployment down. It's about economic stimulus. It's about infrastructure spending. And you know what? I'm going to tell you what, Chad, you said it exactly. Trump's Fed a businessman. Trump is a businessman. He's not a Republican. He's not a Democrat. He is a businessman. The United States of America is the biggest business on this planet, right? Think about it. You can call it an economy. You can call it anything you want. It's a business, right? It buys things. It sells things. It produces things. It imports things, just like any other business, right? And Trump is a businessman, and he came to do business. He's come to do business. And that's why we thought the trade team is the one that actually told me to put that Nobel Peace Prize thing on there, because they just find it very interesting that as much as we come down on Trump and stuff, he actually got nominated by Norway, right? Let's see here. So that should answer your question, though, Samuel, is that really the market doesn't care R or D. And I'll tell you something about Donald Trump, too. He's not a true Republican. He's a businessman. Actually, Chad's right. After Trump's name, it shouldn't be R or D. It should just be B, Actually, BD for big dog. But let's see. Chad had a question here. Chad had mentioned something here that we want to talk about. I'm sorry. Just making sure I didn't miss any questions. There you go. And actually, this is one of Samuel, man. Ross Perot, right? Remember Ross Perot, Samuel? Ross Perot was the same thing. I mean, nobody knew how to label him as far as party, but he is a businessman. He is about making money. He's about growth. He is about all the things that make America great again. People are too easy to confuse protectionism with pro-growth, right? It's like Trump always says. It's just like they try to corner him on the trade wars. They're trade wars. It's not a trade war. It's a trade negotiation. All it is these things are so upside down. He wants to bring them in line. He doesn't want to stop trade. He doesn't want to punish anybody. He just wants things even, and we can live with that. Severe Norwegians used to be the scourge of Europe, killing, raping, and plundering. I can't get into that. I'm sorry. The Pittsburgh Project, not familiar offhand. Yeah, not familiar offhand what the Pittsburgh Project is. But if you want to give me a little lead, I'll talk to the team. We'll go research and we can talk about it tomorrow, Chad. Absolutely. Norwegians used to be the score. Yeah, that's an answer. I don't want to insult any Norwegians by getting too deep into that. Oh, that's the one. Chad, you're welcome. It's funny. The Kahuku side, the north shore of this island, is very tight-knit community. Roland and Tala will tell you that. It's a very tight-knit community. They probably know Tua or his family. Kid was an awesome awesome high school player, man. He was just incredible in high school. We all remember him. And we all knew he had it in him. We all knew he had the skills, and we all knew he had the maturity and stuff to be a big game player. And when he got that shot in the final game, in that championship game, and he came through, you can't imagine how good we felt in Hawaii. And, it really got us tight with Alabama, right? Everybody from Alabama loves Hawaii, and everybody from Hawaii loves Alabama. Why not? Because Chad or Tua, he brought a world or he brought a national championship to Alabama, and in turn, Alabama gave a local kid from Hawaii that probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to a major university with a great reputation and get just an amazing degree, right? I mean, it's a win-win for both sides. That's the great thing about big college football, right? You look at it in Hawaii, it happens all the time, man. These kids come from rough neighborhoods. They come from rough economic situations, and these big colleges, man, give them these carte blanche scholarships, and it's just beautiful, man. Thank you to Alabama for giving a young man the shot. We're glad that we're going to look into that Pittsburgh project, okay, Chad? I don't want to make comments on something I'm not real informed on. Yeah, his brother signed too. That's right. His brother. There's Tala. There's our North Shore girl. You can see in her picture too. What a beautiful family. Just wonderful people. The North Shore is an amazing place. We like to visit it as often as possible, even though we live on the island. But yeah, Tua, man. Tua is just amazing. He was an amazing athlete in high school, man. I'm glad it worked out in Alabama. I guess he's a sophomore, right? So you got, 2-3 more years of him, man. And under Nick Saban, man, how can you go wrong? Nick Saban's reputation is developing young men into fantastic adult men, So he's got a great tutelage. He's at a great university. Just a win-win, all of, good Christians. Absolutely. They're very religious on the North Shore. They're very family orientated. They're just really, really good people. If you guys come to Hawaii, you got to visit the North Shore. There's great stuff over there. Polynesian Cultural Center, like Tala said. That's always a fun thing. That's got the knife show and the fire show and stuff like that. They got little villages that represent different parts of Polynesia, New Zealand, Australia, Micronesia, Samoa, Tonga. Polynesia is a big place, but yeah. I mean, now I'm doing tourism advertising. But yeah. Tua just visited the Polynesian Cultural Center. Yeah. Don't doubt it. But you know what, Chad? It's funny. This is us now. This is us, man. We're all Tide fans now over here. We are. We're like super into Alabama now. It's already fun to watch Alabama, man. It's one of the best college programs ever to be on this planet. You know what I mean? And I don't care what you're talking about, whether it's from the coach to the school to the players themselves, man. Alabama is a top-notch program, man. Chad was here on vacation. So next time you're coming on vacation, Chad, you got to let us know so we can go have lunch or something, And Tala says, thanks for the plug. It's Hawaii, man. It's funny about Hawaii, and since we're not getting a little stock questions, I'll share this with you. Over the years, I've had many opportunities to work on the mainland, take jobs on the mainland. I always refuse. I'll never leave Hawaii. My parents came here before I was born, so I was born here, which is strange, right? Fair-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired boy. Lived on Hawaii all my life. Of course, I've been to the mainland for work and seminars and stuff like that, short term. But I'll never leave Hawaii. It's a beautiful place, and we're very proud of it, He's uber secret. I think I've probably read about that, Chad. I'm gonna go look at it, with the team this afternoon. I promise I'll get back to you on that tomorrow. Absolutely, because that's interesting. They've had a couple like that, right? Apple had one. They had that secret warehouse where everybody thought they were developing the driverless car and stuff like that. So we'll definitely go check it out. So if anybody had any more questions or anybody wanted to talk a little bit more about the stock market, want to talk about Hawaii, tell us about Alabama. Alabama and Hawaii, though, now are like this. It's just over. It's over. We're in a relationship. Whether you people in Alabama like it or not, we're in a relationship now. And we love Tua, man. If you guys can talk to Saban, man, start him every game. But that's a big advantage, too, for him for being in Alabama, is that he's with, what's his name? The other quarterback. Shoot. Oh, my goodness. But anyways, they're two very talented quarterbacks. So he's got a lot of peer growth and all that stuff. So it's good. Self-driving cars. Yeah, Marco. And then Apple, that's what I was mentioning, that Apple had the same thing, right, about a year ago. Remember they had that plant in Cupertino or something, Cupertino. And people were trying to figure out what they were doing in it, right, as a big secret. I think Google had one, too. And it always seems to come back to the self-driving cars. Yes, absolutely, Sever. Absolutely. This is a whole separate thing, Anytime, Sever, you can ask about a stock. Now, we might not be able to respond to it right away because we might have to go take a look. Unfortunately, the trade team's only 8 people, so. But go ahead, fire away. Fire away. What? Why do I believe that, Sana? What were you doing? What were you doing that you were flying over in a Cessna? And let's see. So I have 115 shares of Shopify. Almost doubled. Shopify. I haven't looked at Shopify for a while, but it's been doing really well, I wouldn't just sell willy-nilly. All I can tell you is what I would do if it was in my portfolio. Because now remember, with the show, none of this is financial advice. Okay, we're not telling you to go out and buy anything, sell anything, do anything crazy. Okay, we're just telling you what we think and what we would do. So you're asking about Shopify right now until the team can go take a look at it, Severa, and we can talk about it more in the private group. But Shopify is actually a very strong company right now. It's doing really well. Everybody's kind of gravitated to it, as far as like the e-commerce storefronts. And it's really, 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 really catching on, and it's just growing like wildfire. So we'll take a look at it and talk to you more specific in the group, and we'll kind of fill it out. Yeah, that's a good one. We want to be around too. I just don't look good in stripes, or orange. So I don't want to be broadcasting from Lompoc or anything like that. But on the Shopify, yeah, let us go take a look. You bought around 85 and 90. Yeah, let us go take a look, and we'll let you know. And we'll talk about it again tomorrow during the live show, just so the viewers know what we talked about. But yeah, let us go take a look at the stock, because Shopify, there's a lot of good things happening, but you're right. It might be towards the top right now. I think that where it's at right now is an all-time high. We get so busy with what we're focusing on within the trade team that a lot of times we just don't have enough time in the day to look at all these stocks. But there's a lot of stocks that we keep on the Where there's a lot of stocks that we keep on a watch list. We call it the hot list. And these are stocks that we always are kind of taking a look at because they're where great opportunities happen. They're very tradable stocks. And Shop is actually one of those because it's such a great company. Let's see. It's true. A friend flew it. That was amazing. We nice. In the early 80s, man, I remember the early 80s, man. I'm telling you, son, it was a great time in Hawaii, too. You know, Maui wasn't real developed. Really, on Maui, you had Kahului on one side, and you had Lahaina on the other side. Share a little personal stuff with you guys. I was 17 years old. I left home, went to live on Maui for about a year to find my wings before I ran off to college and started that life. Yeah, a lot of talk about the VSAB, and we'll get into that. You know. And yeah, no worries, Sever. We'll talk about it a little bit in detail in the group, and then we'll kind of share the information with everybody, our regular viewers on the live show too. You know, we want this to be good information for people. We want this to be usable information. Shopify came target for a big share in the top stock takes it every time, but it always bends. Yeah, Citron. There's kind of a funny thing about Citron. It is an old short seller, but they kind of use the news cycle to their advantage. I don't know if this is illegal or not illegal. Who knows? But Citron, you got to take that with a grain of salt. And just like you said, how the stock always recovers right after Citron's targeted Shop a couple times. And you just like you mentioned, every time they do, the stock goes down and maybe about 10-15%. And I think they're taking pops at it that way. And they release these reports and then they sell into the buying, and they're just making money hand over fist. Now, that's probably manipulation. Can you prove it? Probably not. Am I right? Probably not. Maybe I am. But it's just kind of in a weird situation. I always take Citron with a grain of salt. I saw today on CNBC, while we were just kind of hanging out during the day waiting for the Fed report, Citron went up against somebody else too. And yeah, you see, that's a great thing. That's smart trading, Sever. If you like the stock and you believe in it, and these reports come out, dude, that's just your opportunity to get some more cheap shares. You know, one of the biggest mistakes traders make is, say like Bank of America, right? We're all in Bank of America. We can share this information publicly, but we're all in those $30 calls, right? And we still got about a month and a half to go on those calls. So we've been really watching Bank of America as a group, right? So every time it's around that $30.20 and starts to look like it's hitting that 30-40 breakout area and stuff, you see all these people post on the message boards, I want to get into bank. I like it. It's bullish going forward. I just want to get it a little cheaper. And then when it goes down like today, at the end of the day, what did it close at about 29.85, 29.89? All of a sudden they're like, oh no, I don't, it's falling apart. That's your buying opportunity. You were just sitting here telling us, right, that you wanted to buy a little bit cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper. And now you say it's a sale. Don't trade like that. But you're smart. And that's why I wanted to point that out to you. I've been using Citron to my advantage. I buy on the dips. It happens every time. I mean, there's some stocks that they hit it right on the dot, right? And it just dies. They were right. It was a crap company. You know what I mean? Shop's not one of those. So, I mean, if they come out and do a hit piece like that and you get an opportunity to buy 10-15% cheaper, you're in it for the long term. Dude, buy it up. Buy it hand over fist. Yeah. Well, I mean, there you go. You see, if you're sold on the company, if you're sold on the stock you're buying, if you're in it for the long term, why would you let these little short-term ticks freak you out and stuff? You just be calm and logical, like we always tell you. Buy some more. Buy some more. You bet. That's smart investing. That's how to work it. Roland had a question. I'm sorry, Roland. I got a little ahead of your question. Patrick, what's it like if you ever was a floor trader like in Chicago back in the days, all that yelling, thank goodness for technology. Oh yeah, God, I can't tell you how difficult trading was in the 80s compared to now. Never worked for a brokerage, never worked in finance. Seriously, I've always been an independent stock trader. Never worked for on a trading floor or anything like that. It is madness. Back in the day, they used to make them wear different colored jackets so they could identify them. They all had their little pieces of paper. They're all right, just like what you're saying. Back in those days, everybody subscribed to a thing called Investors Business Daily. You still see it, IBD, and it's a great read. It's great information, but we didn't have the internet, right? How are you going to get a chart? How do you get a live chart? Remember, we didn't have any computers. We barely had live TV. You had like 3 channels, right? ABC, NBC, and CBS. Some people had PBS. Some people didn't. Cable was just becoming a thing. Where do you get your charts from? Where do you get your live charts from? Well, you didn't. And that's why people had to learn entry points, exit points, and everybody subscribed to Investors Business Daily because it had the best information. Now, you got this 5 days a week, 6 days a week, right? And you immediately, when you got your issue, you went through the whole thing and you started looking at charts and you said, look, I want to buy this stock here and I want to sell it there. And you had to be very specific because you couldn't call your broker and say, let me set up a layered trade here, right? And that's where people... we actually talked about it, right, a little bit in the private board today. We talked about what did we talk about? Oh shoot! See, I lost my train of thought. But we back in the day, what we used to have to do is just that. We used to have to read a chart. We used to have to find an entry point and an exit point, and we had to make our calls and make our buys right there. You had to call your broker. There was no trading online. Remember, there was no computers. Phones until I think it was the mid 80s didn't even have digital. They were still rotary, man. And if you guys my age remember, man, if you were dialing fast and you just clipped the number, you had to redial the whole thing. If somebody wasn't there to answer, most people didn't even have message machines. How did we make money? Oh my God. We did, but we did. We found a way. But that's what you had to do. Everybody subscribed to Investors Business Daily. You had to go through and you had to plan ahead, man. You had to plan ahead. It was difficult. And then we started rolling in the 90s and we didn't have, remember at first we had desktops, big clunky desktops, and you had like E-Trade. Remember the baby E-Trade commercial? He's making trades in the crib. But that was just, to us older traders, it was like, oh my God, a streaming chart? Jesus Christ, Let's see. Patrick, you remind me. Larry King, man. I've only had one wife. And yeah, we like marijuana stocks. The two we like too. And thank you when he was younger. Thank you when he was younger. The Larry King too, right? Remember back then in the 80s, everybody watched Larry King. Everybody watched Larry King. So thank you, Severa. I take that like a compliment. Larry King was a very respected journalist back in the day. Before everything everything media now is clickbait, right? Everything media is echo chamber. But you remember back then you had to have real opinions and you had to have real news, or you just weren't on the news. Remember what we said? 3 major stations. There wasn't Fox, there wasn't CNN, there wasn't MSNBC, there wasn't Daily Caller, there wasn't Vox and all these off-breed blogs. There was 3 main channels. So everybody was competing for those 3 jobs, right? And I think you had Dan Rather. It was a while ago. Well, Walter Cronkite before he retired. And, you just had those 3 guys. And Larry King was one of them, right? Remember the late night talk shows? We had Johnny Carson. There was nobody else, right? Yeah, and he was Yeah, that's true. Larry King was pro marijuana back when you weren't pro marijuana, right? When if you said you're pro marijuana, you're a hippie pothead loser, right? Um, that's the way marijuana was looked at. It was the reefer madness days, right? The people that are my age remember actually have seen the evolution of marijuana right before their eyes, right? What's happened is um, it's just the whole classification of it and the image of it in the public is grown. And it's funny too, right? In the 80s and the 90s, people our age will tell you straight up, just as many people smoked pot back then as they do now, but it was a dirty little secret. And if you smoked pot, you were looked at like you were, basically a hippie, a loser, you know what I mean? You just got a really bad reputation. And, we had things like reefer madness, which pretty much equated marijuana to like PCP and stuff. We were crazy back then, But it's funny, right? If you think about it, back in the 80s, the people that were the adults that were putting out all that information and were just really wrong about cannabis, right? Now they're the aged out of the picture, and we were the kids at that time. Now we're the adults and the decision makers, and we understand that marijuana has advantages, and so that's how over time we've effectively turned the opinion on it, right? And that's important. That's important to remember too, because when you talk smack about these millennials and stuff, look, you're talking smack about the future of America. As adults, if we don't like millennials and the way they act, it's up to us to teach them better, right? If they've learned the wrong things, it's because the adults have taught them that. So always respect the millennials' opinion. Remember when we were that age, nobody respected our opinions. Remember how much that used to piss us off? So it doesn't mean you have to give them a vote. Just listen to their opinion. I miss Johnny Carson too, man. And yeah, I mean I think this is a great discussion, Sever. The baby boomers aren't the rebels anymore; they're the decision makers. And I've tried to explain this to a lot of people. I try to explain it to millennials because they have to understand how big the responsibility is. Right? I mean, it's important that they go to school. It's important that they get all this stuff into their education and their bodies. And it's also important for us as the boomers that have gone through this to remind them that when you're young, everything is a liberal point of view, right? Rent should be free. Education should be free. Everything should be free, right? Marijuana should be legal. But it's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, you can look at us boomers and say, man, we ran the cost of college up, but it's not as easy as that. It's not as simple as that. So if we're always in good communication with the boomers and the millennials, guess what? We can set the millennials up for big success. I think as boomers, we're very proud of where we've got the country right now. And I think that the baton, should we hand it off to the millennials correctly, the country's just going to get better and better and better, and the future's always in the children, right? And it's the boomers. It's important for us to, it's a little off topic, but actually it is relevant to the marijuana plays because exactly, people don't want to hear this boring side of the story. And that's where I get frustrated when I talk marijuana with a lot of people. I want to talk about, Roland, you're asking me about the 1930s, dude. I'm not that old. Oh, Roland. But it is relevant because, like I said, people don't want to hear the boring side of it. But I always explain that to people that, look, what was it? It was the Greatest Generation or something that was before us. And that was the fuddy-duddy adults. Remember, pot was a bad word, man. You could stab a guy in the chest and not go to jail. You have a bag of pot on you, you go to jail for 15 years. That's how it was back then. But we learned the benefits of it. It wasn't just about getting stoned and getting loopy, right? It was about CBDs. It's about really, really a way to solve the opioid crisis. Look, Our parents and our generation has suffered and suffered from the opioid crisis. Nobody knows it like our generation. And if we can set up this next generation through CBDs and stuff to get rid of that, that's why it's a big thing with Trump. I guarantee you he knows people that opioids have ruined their lives, just like all of us do, you know? And that's why it's relevant to the marijuana play, because now those people that know better are in charge. They are the decision makers, and we're about to pass the baton to the new decision makers. And so we need to make sure we put them in a position where they can succeed. Stop kicking them. And here we go. Here's was 2008 worse than 1930s Great Depression? And do you think or see a future market crash? And are there any signs like symptoms of that we should be aware of? I give you a little story here, Roland, and this is good for everybody to listen to. Okay. About a year and a half ago, we had a client. We had him set up really, really nice in his portfolio. Beautiful setup. This North Korea stuff was just starting to happen, right? It was starting to come back to the forefront, right? You know what I mean? He kind of accelerated the testing and stuff. So markets were kind of getting hit. You know, you guys probably remember, it wasn't that long ago. And he'd just freak out about it. He just, he'd call us up. He'd call us up all the time. And he'd, you know, my portfolio gets this much, you know, because the North Koreans, what if we're destroyed by, what happens to my portfolio if the North Koreans fire a nuclear weapon? Let me tell you this, if a nuclear war starts, it won't matter what stocks you're in, because the market's going to crash and it's going to go to zero anyways. And everything you own is going to go to zero. It's not going to just be your stocks. It's going to be your bank account. It's going to be your bonds. It's going to be your car is going to be worthless because you can't get gasoline, right? It's going to be Mad Max Road Warrior. But then you fast forward to today, June 13th, 2018. Just last week, we went and revalued his portfolio based on what he had when he quit. And he'd have triple more right now. And he let that North Korean thing. So look, Roland, a crash like 2008, a crash like 1930 can happen anytime. It can happen tonight. Something can happen. A nuclear disaster at a power plant, right? It doesn't even have to be an attack. It could be anything. And the world economy just goes into a tailspin. Don't be Chicken Little and don't live on the edge like that. You know what I mean? Trust me. Just trust me on that. Plus, you're a member, man. You know, ask Samuel. We don't worry about that. We made more money on that 2008 crash. Back then, I was an independent trader. We just cleaned house on that. The Great Depression, I'm not familiar with, but they call 2008 the Great Depression now, right? So it's good though. It's good that every generation gets a taste of it, right? So, you know, you always want to have a little fear in you, right? You always want to play with a little fear in you, even athletes, right? You got to have a little fear in you, right? Because your fear is your motivator. Fear of being embarrassed, fear of being second, fear of letting your team down, fear of letting your country down. You always want to have a little streak of fear in you, but not too much. You don't want to let fear make your decisions for you. So, and Marco says, invest in guns. I know somebody who's just like that. Now, me personally, I'm not a gun owner and stuff, but you know what? I like to go to the shooting range. I'll be honest with you. Samuel's taking me to the shooting range. I had more fun than I've ever had. I believe in the Second Amendment. I don't believe that you need a rocket launcher or anything like that, but I think a 9mm, I think a small gun, I think a regular, you know, a normal rifle and stuff like that. Look, I was down at that gun range all day, and everybody was so sane and everybody is so calm. And you know what? Before they'd even let me hold the bullet, I had to go through this whole big spew about how to handle a gun, how to safely handle the gun and stuff like that. By the time I went to pick one up, I was good with a gun, and I wasn't going to shoot myself or anybody else by accident. There's a misconception with a lot of these gun clubs and stuff. It's not about hoarding guns and stuff. It's about gun safety. That's why after that day, I literally tell people now the NRA is not about the Second Amendment. It's about gun safety. And it is. I've experienced it. I have experienced it. And nobody's ever going to change my opinion on that because these guys were great people. They were great people. And all they cared about that I was safely using the gun and that I was having a good time. Yeah, you don't remember seeing people in a soup line. It was a different kind of world, right? Always thought they pushed back the real pain to a it was a different economy, right? It was a bigger economy. It was a more expanded economy, and there was technology involved in the 2008 one. So yeah, I mean, you got to remember the United States in the 1930s was more of an archaic system and a more primitive lifestyle and stuff. So soup lines were huge, man. But I tell you what, you talk about the 1930s soup lines, right? Any morning, I can take you down to River Street in downtown Honolulu, and you guys can see soup lines there. Yeah, more controlled. More controlled. What I mean, you think about it now, right, Marco? The media is more under control. It's more, it's not as honest as it was before. So you know, Ace Bear, you ever in time, man? You get a hold of me and Samuel. You know what I mean? Like I said, look, these gun clubs, it's easy to misrepresent them. And it's easy, you know, keep an open mind. Whether you're pro-gun, anti-gun, just keep an open mind, you know? And you're absolutely invited. Yeah, you're absolutely invited. You know? But if the market takes a dive, you can still make money short by selling. Yes, absolutely. And we will be ready. We will be ready. That 2008, there were some very, very obvious signs. What happened was people ignored them. Look at Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer came up yesterday and Bear Stearns. He was so sold on Bear Stearns. And I understand why. Bear Stearns was a fantastic company. It was a powerhouse. It was a beast. It was a behemoth. It was easy to believe in them. They're too big to fail. It was shocking. There was a lot of things that went under that were shocking. Bear Stearns was one of, even to us, us who are on the outside looking in on that trade. You know, and we could understand. That's why I told you guys yesterday, don't hold that against Jim Cramer because a lot of people fell in. Look how many people fell into the Enron. We were short Enron when it happened. We saw some things happening with the stock in the company that we just didn't believe. So we went short on it. Call us lucky. Right after you call us rich. But yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. More controlled, Marco. More controlled. You know, even like the media focus and stuff, it's real easy to target it, right? It's real easy to fake it. We're just looking on if you guys want to have a fun site to if you guys want to have a fun site, keep up on Twitter. Now, this is a conservative oriented site, but it's fun. You guys go check this out, twitchy.com. It's a compilation of tweets that are the most stupid they can find, the most ridiculous. They were showing this morning that Ron Perlman, remember the guy from, I think he was in Sons of Anarchy. He was the kind of big one that got outed and stuff. He turned on the gang or something. I don't know. Anyways, he was posting this picture of kids in a cage, and the kid was, and he was like, "This is Trump needs to stop this. Trump, fuck Trump, blah blah blah." Excuse my language. Excuse my language. I don't like to use that kind of language. I'm just repeating what he was saying. He's just going ballistic on it. Then they found out that that picture was a staged protest. If you look at the back of the picture, it's just a cage, and they asked the boy to cry and stuff like that. That's how they can control it. Right now, it's easy to control the media. It's easy for the media to control people. Let me tell you guys something right now. You guys talk about collusion and all this stuff and Russians and all these outside effects affecting the elections and stuff like that. Nobody manipulates the American voter more than the U.S. media. Okay? And that's why we told you yesterday, you be careful with the media. You know? I want to sound like a conspiracy theorist because I'm not. But nobody manipulates things more than the U.S. media, and that was exactly right. There's been a whole bunch of that too, right? Pictures from 2014, they're blaming on Trump. Look, we're not saying Trump is perfect. We're not saying that he doesn't have some really glaring deficiencies. He does. And they're all mostly about the social stuff and the environmental stuff. But like a couple of you said earlier, U.S. is a business and he runs it like one. And that's why it's so successful right now. So now that you guys got me to make some political statements, you got any questions? I'll probably get a lot of hate mail. Huh? Who cares? But let's just scroll through the comments here and see if there's anything we want to that we miss. Yeah, we'll definitely talk more about shop, okay? Severe. And Marco says touche. So I guess if there's no more questions and we're all kind of ready to start our Wednesday afternoon. It's kind of boring right now, right? It's kind of boring right now. It's only baseball. Baseball's fun to play, but it's terrible to watch. Unless you're at the game, right? And you've got like 7 hot dogs and 38 beers. And it's a lot of fun. So I believe it's 93 days till football season. Or 83 days. Start already. The NBA championships were a dud. A little sweet. But hey, if you guys are talking to one of Sever's from Oakland, right? Sever's from Oakland. So you're talking about the NBA championship. The trade room called that sweep before it happened. They said it was a sweep. They didn't watch any of the games because they said it was going to suck, and it did. We like LeBron. We always root for somebody like LeBron, right? But that's just too powerful of a team in Golden State. So, and then it turned out that LeBron had the broken hand and all that stuff. And then we saw him on TV, and he had a big red eye. Oh, my God. Poor guy, he just got defeated. So, I mean, we kind of had a little fun today, right? We talked about the market. We talked about a few stocks. We talked about politics. If you guys got any more questions, pop them in there. If not, we'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully it was entertaining for you. It was as fun for us. The hair acted right. Yesterday I know I had the big piece sticking up. Alfalfa. LeBron to Houston or LA? Okay. Since we're on the subject, we think the only place that makes sense for LeBron is LA. Why? Because at this point in his career, he's won a championship, right? At this point in the career, he brought a championship to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nobody in the history of the team, the city, has ever been able to bring them a championship, right? LeBron brought one home. So even if he leaves, Cleveland shouldn't treat him like they did the last time because he's brought them a championship. He's delivered. What's happened in Cleveland is they've destroyed the team around him. And there's no way that team wouldn't even made the finals if it wasn't for freak injuries to the other teams. And that's that. We know that. Golden State proved that. So we only think there's one place that can handle LeBron, and that's the Lakers. Why? Because at this point in the career, he's achieved everything else. What he needs is martyrdom. He needs the glitz and only LA can give it. Tinseltown can give him that. So we think he'll end up in LA. We think the chances of him staying in Cleveland are 0. So, okay. And Sweden is nearing midnight, and Hawaii is nearing 12 o'clock. So I have to send the trade team home pretty soon so they can get ready for 2 o'clock in the morning. Thanks again, Patrick, and everyone else. Hope you can get some more people to. Oh, man, Severi, you'd be surprised, man. We turn away people. So, you guys keep spreading the word. We're very picky about who we allow to the service and stuff. because we don't want people coming in that are going to slow down people like you. Okay. So don't worry. We've always got people coming, but actually we keep spreading the name, thank you, Sever. Absolutely. Thank you. Once you get a first successful trades, I know you're still trying to get those options approved and stuff. So you'll be fine with that, Sever. Don't worry about it. Just takes a couple days. And then once you get that worked out, it's clear sailing from there. So don't let that bring you down or anything. And there's always trades. And then Sana, yeah, it's midnight, Sana. You go to sleep. We'll see you in the morning. Like I said, I got to give the trade team the offer ready because they have to be up at 2:00 for the market tomorrow. It's going to be an exciting day tomorrow. So you guys tune in for the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you all for showing up. You guys have a great afternoon. We'll see you back here tomorrow after the market. It's Thursday. Not a big news cycle day. Well, we'll see. I mean, we haven't seen the tweets in the morning yet. But look, you guys have a great day. Always out there, you make a difference, right? Pay it forward, make a difference. Just be a good human being. You'll find that if we all just worry about being good human beings ourselves, everything will rub off and it'll be okay. All right? Instead of blaming the other guy for what went wrong, let's all make sure we're just doing the things right. All right? So you guys have a great evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Aloha.